Hello and welcome to this India Today special. We are joined by a very special guest, the opposition's candidate for Rashtrapati, for President, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, former Union Finance Minister. Appreciate you joining us, Mr. Sinha. Would I be right in saying that this is a token fight, given the fact that the numbers now appear heavily stacked in favor of the government's candidate, Draupadi Murmu?
My first response to your question is, I would be in the fight even if it was a token fight. But I'd like to correct you. According to my information, it's not a token fight. The numbers are not heavily stacked in favor of Draupadi Murmu, as you said. There will be lots of developments between now and the 18th of July when the election will finally take place.
The numbers, as I said, are heavily stacked. You can dispute the word heavily because Naveen Patnaik and the Biju Janata Dal, part of the opposition, has backed Draupadi Murmu also from Odisha, and the YSRCP of Jagan Mohan Reddy has also chosen to back Draupadi Murmu, as has Nitish Kumar. Now, without the support of these three parties, you do not have the numbers, Mr. Sinha. So the opposition itself is not united.
First of all, Biju Janata Dal or Nitish Kumar, YSR, his party, they were not part of the opposition party's meetings which were held over the 2 days. And to tell you the truth, one never counted on them. And yet, I would only say that why is Biju Janata Dal supporting Srimati Draupadi Murmu? Because she comes from Orissa, isn't it?
Yes, but
so why would you take it for granted that Bihar, Jharkhand MLAs and MPs will not support me?
Is that what you're relying on? You're relying on Bihar and Jharkhand because you, of course, have been contesting elections from Jharkhand. But remember, Draupadi Murmu could be India's first Adivasi president, and Jharkhand has a large tribal population, sir. So the JMM may well choose to support Draupadi Murmu.
Rajdeep, it is your experience and mine that elevation of one individual does not lift the entire community. And we have various examples of that, including the person in front of me. I would very humbly request you to kindly go into her background and not go by the symbolism, merely the symbolism. You and I don't control where we'll be born. I did not control my birth. So how can birth be a disadvantage on which you don't have any control? But leave that apart. I have heard this argument a number of times. My only request is, please compare our respective track records in terms of what I have done for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and what she has done for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes.
But you agree that there is a powerful symbolism in a woman and an Adivasi becoming a presidential nominee versus Yashwant Sinha, several times finance minister, external affairs minister, but seen to represent the status quo or seen to represent the old order. She is seen to represent new order.
Before this, you will recall, we had a lady who was a scheduled caste lady who was put up as a candidate for president. She didn't win because nobody raised this issue that you support her because she comes from the scheduled caste. Now this is being raised because this is how the government and the Bharatiya Janata Party want to fight this election. I don't want to play on their wicket. I have my own wicket to play on.
I'm coming to your wicket in a moment, but the fact is, sir, you're the fourth choice in a way of the opposition. The opposition looked at Sharad Pawar, looked at Farooq Abdullah, looked at Gopal Krishna Gandhi. After all of them declined, they've come to you. Could I say that you are a Balika Bakra? Would that be right to say, a sacrificial lamb?
I said in a press conference which I addressed today that even if I was the 10th choice of the opposition parties, I would have agreed to contest this election, because this election, Rajdeep, is more than me, more than Draupadi Murmu, it is more than Bharatiya Janata Party, it is more than opposition parties. It is a contest for the soul of India. It is the soul of India which is at stake today. And therefore, I have agreed to contest this election. I said, if I were approached and I was the 10th choice, I would have still contested this election.
You're saying it's a battle for the soul of India. Here is someone who's a former BJP person who for years was in the BJP, now taking on a BJP supported candidate and saying this election is of the soul of India. Here is someone who supported Narendra Modi when in the lead up to 2014, now saying this is a battle for the soul of India.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I belong to the BJP. I had supported Narendra Modi in 2013-14. But then I did not have his track record of the last 8 years in front of me. Immediately after Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister, I started looking at his style of functioning. I started looking closely at the policies which were being followed. And you will remember that I came out openly against the policies of the government. And then I decided to quit the party. Why? Because I found that in no way the Bharatiya Janata Party of today is the Bharatiya Janata Party of yesterday. It is not the Bharatiya Janata Party of Mr. Vajpayee, which believed in consensus, not in confrontation. And this government, this party believes only in confrontation. It does not believe in consensus, and consensus is the soul of democracy.
So therefore, in a sense, are you admitting that you were mistaken in 2013-14 to support Mr. Modi, that you didn't know who Mr. Modi was? Or is this pure opportunism that say you had got some of the loaves and fishes of office when Mr. Modi took over, then you would have supported him? Is it a principled battle or an opportunistic statement you're making when you say soul of India?
It is a principled battle according to me, and I'd like to remind you, there is a popular misconception that the party denied me the ticket in 2014. Fact of the matter is, I myself refused to contest the Lok Sabha election of 2014. It's a matter of record that even from the meeting of the election commission, the then party president, Mr. Rajnath Singh, called me and said, please reconsider, because the election committee wants you to reconsider and contest this one last election. And I said, no, I have made up my mind. I will not be able to do justice to my constituency if I contested this election, and therefore I am out of it.
I come back to it, sir. You are saying this is a battle for the soul of India. Many will say that the Rashtrapati's position, in a sense, is a ceremonial post now. All the executive powers lie with the Prime Minister of India. Do you therefore really believe that a presidential election, in a sense, can be converted into a battle for the soul of India? Or is it simply that whoever has the numbers, and because the government-led alliance has the numbers, you win the election?
This will be very unfair to the high office of President to look at things in this way. The President of India, of course, is bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers, but the President of India has very well-defined powers under the Constitution. And our Constitution is based on the principle of checks and balances. And the President of India is one such check on the executive. And it is within his powers to tell the executive where the executive is wrong.
No, is it a check or would it lead to a confrontation?
No,
if you were President of India tomorrow, Mr. Modi as Prime Minister, someone whose style of functioning you don't approve of, would it only lead to confrontation?
No, it will not lead to confrontation for the simple reason that the President will advise the Prime Minister about how he should function, and the Prime Minister is bound to listen to that advice. Equally, I mean, just as the President is bound by the advice of the Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister should respect the advice of the Prime Minister or the President.
You know, in a way, Yashwant Sinha ji, 14 opposition parties have come together. But clearly, as I said at the very outset, the opposition itself seems divided. And there are those who today believe that increasingly we are becoming a country where the BJP is the dominant party of the day. Do you agree with that, that we are increasingly moving towards a dominant party democracy?
It is a very dangerous thing if this country were to move to a dominant party democracy. You know, our
if that's what the voters want, who are you and I to disagree with
No,
them?
we can always tell the voters what is right for the country and what's not right, isn't it? I mean, that's where the contest is. It's not merely the contest for who puts the vote where.
Sir, but in a presidential election, the MPs and MLAs don't go by what voters or citizens want. They go by their party affiliations.
They go by their party affiliations, but it's still a secret ballot.
Are you asking for a conscience vote?
I am saying that if parties alone were to decide what the role of the party members will be, then why should there be a secret vote? Why should there be a vote at all? Then every party comes and says, you know, our numbers are for so-and-so, and therefore no election.
Let me ask you in conclusion, is there any possibility of you at all withdrawing your candidature between now and 18th if the numbers don't work in your favor, if Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha, Andhra do not choose to vote with you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And if Orissa votes with my rival candidate, because she belongs to that state, I see no reason why Jharkhand, Bihar should not vote for me, because I belong there.
You're making a virtual appeal to Nitish Kumar to reconsider his stand.
I am making an appeal to the voters of these two states.
One final question. If there was your top priority, if you were to become president, or if you were to reach out to parties asking to be chosen as president, you're going on a nationwide tour, what is that one priority that you would have as President of India?
I would tell them that this is the role and responsibility of the President of India. Please elect somebody who will live up to that role and that responsibility, and don't elect somebody who will become the rubber stamp of the Prime Minister. Then there is no checks and balances.
You are saying Draupadi Murmu would be a rubber stamp president?
I am not saying that. I am merely saying that anyone who goes to Rashtrapati Bhavan and behaves like a rubber stamp will not be serving the Constitution of India.
On that note, Yashwant Sinha ji, we wish you well as you battle for the President's post. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you.